You've seen these smooth, premium 3D animations all over TikTok, Reels and YouTube Shorts. That glassy Apple-style motion that just feels expensive. Today, I'll show you how to create it yourself in After Effects. This lesson's actually from my full Skillshare class on viral motion graphics, where I teach editors and creators how to make their videos look premium and professionally produced. Even if you just watch this clip, you'll learn how to build a scroll-stopping 3D UI animation using shape layers and cameras, the same workflow top creators and agencies use every day. For this video, we're going to recreate one of the videos from this creator. His name is Creatorly, not sure, but this person is doing absolutely beautiful next level animations. Recently he's been doing more of an Apple style animations, and this is the video that we're going to recreate. Super simple, just like 7-8 seconds long, but how beautiful is it? So we have text and we have all sorts of pop-ups, animations, moving parts. Yeah, absolutely beautiful. So let's jump in. Okay, so this is a 5x speed recording, and first thing I'm doing is I'm just seeing what he does. Create the composition 1080 by 1080 because his recording is square, and now I just have to take a look at what he's doing and then actually create it. First of all, I created a big text layer and then I broke it into 3 text layers so that I can animate each word separately. But then I wasn't able to put the words exactly in the right location, so I created the text once again as one big layer, and then I had to move the little texts, each single word, to fit exactly. Okay, then I had to rotate the word animated and I had to create a gradient, and because he's using sort of like Instagram colors, I decided to use the same colors. Had to search for color codes, create a gradient, and then track matte the gradient to the word. That's how it is. So as you can see, very similar to what he's doing. Rename a couple of things. And now for the text pop-ups, we're actually going to use Animation Composer. You can definitely do it by hand, but I thought, why not use Animation Composer? They already spent all the time to create this animation. Why not do a very similar thing? Then I also had to animate the opacity a little bit because it doesn't just come to the screen, but it comes with a little bit of opacity. There's little bounce, and that's how it's been done. Then I created a camera and a null to be able to move back and forth, because in a lot of his animations he's kind of moving back and forth just a little bit, and adds that better dynamic. So we have the text, basically exactly the same text, maybe just slightly different animation, but to be honest, a lot of it is just personal taste. And now we have to move it down. So we connect everything to the null, and then we're moving everything down. And then we're also decreasing the opacity. Next thing, we need to create the circle cutout where I'm going to actually put myself, just importing the file and then track matting the picture to the cutout that I created, the circle cutout. Now, because we already have text moving down with the null, I'm just going to connect myself, the cutout of myself, to the null as well, and therefore it's going to go down with the text at the same time. You also saw that there's like a little bit of the twist of the head, or like the cutout, so that's what I'm doing here as well, creating a little bit of a twist when I'm appearing onto the screen. And then there's like a growing background behind the head cutout. I think that's how he did it, I'm not necessarily sure, but I decided to do it with a rectangle with rounded squares, because if you maximize the roundness of the squares, it becomes a circle. So I can actually hide it behind myself, and then parent it to myself, and then once I'm going down, to increase the part that's the background, basically. Now we're going to have to animate these files or these screens or whatever that is. One thing I'm doing all the time is going back and forth to actually see it, because the animation might be very similar but might not be perfect, so that's why I'm going back and forth to make sure everything is exactly as I want it to be. Now we need to create a stroke, a rounded rectangle, and now we basically need to do a very similar animation to what he did. So I connected the rectangle to the null, and we're going to connect a lot of things to the null in the future, but for now we're just going to animate it coming onto the screen. and then we'll have to animate every single piece. So the folder, the text, the whatever else there was, all sorts of icons, we're going to have to animate every single thing. So it's time consuming, but it looks next level. Okay, so I'm animating the rectangle and I'm animating the node that the rectangle is connected to, animating both at the same time. You can definitely do it with one, but in this case it worked better like this. And then I'm also animating rectangle on the left. So I basically duplicated the rectangle and now I'm just changing the positions. And that's it. Basically, what also needs to happen is when these rectangles come onto the screen, it also moves the cutout of myself. Like the picture of myself has to move first to the left and then to the right, because that's exactly what's happening in his videos. It's as if it actually is true, and it's as if I push my arm gets pushed. So a similar effect he's trying to achieve here. And also, a picture of myself has to rotate a little bit to the left once it gets hit, like as if we're actually trying to do a real thing. As you can see, a lot of keyframes on the screen. That's because the way you animate all of this is actually just going hand by hand. There are definitely ways to speed up the process. If you do it 1,000 times, you know where to save certain presets, where to save certain templates. But because I was doing exactly this animation for the first time, it's not like I did 1,000 times, so I wasn't able to speed the process up. So the first thing I decided to do is to actually do the animation of things appearing on the screen and then getting off the screen. And after that, I'll be able to actually customize the way certain aspect looks. So first, we need to create 3 dots as if it's like an option to click there. And I'm using a repeater effect, and then I'm going to rotate the repeater, and I'm also going to center the anchor point by pressing Command and the center anchor point at the top. So I have to put it in a certain position and then parent it to the null. And then basically just taking a look at what he's doing. So he has text that has different formatting. I am indeed using a different font, and I wasn't trying to use his font because I actually enjoy my font a lot more, which is Tusker. If you like this font, you can use it as well. And then I had to download an icon from the internet, but I wasn't able to find like a proper icon, so I had to go a little bit back and forth and using the color key to get rid of the background. Smaller icon, a little bit bigger text, and all different formatting. So different icons, one for like pictures, one for video, and another one we'll see in a second. But this is a pretty repetitive process with nothing, it's not like rocket science. Like, to be honest, this is super simple to do. It just takes time and thinking through. As you can see, we'll also need to create a folder, and for the folder we'll need to create a gradient, and we're going to see in a second how that's done. Search for a folder. If you can find a folder that's PNG or any sort of icons that are PNG, it's actually better. First of all, you don't have to do an extra step of creating the color key. Secondly, it actually takes less power for your computer. So we're doing exactly the same thing, and I actually copied the gradient that I previously did and just did the track matting with the second gradient. We just need to put things into the position. Now, because there are so many moving parts, it was a little bit tricky to parent everything, because one thing has to be parented to the other, and it's a bit troublesome to do it when there are so many moving parts. So you can see I did have to go back and forth quite a lot, and I also mark everything with color. So everything that's on the right square, it's yellow color, and then we'll go into the other one. Now I also created a fourth gradient for the left square. In After Effects you can create just a normal gradient, which is going to be 2 colors, or a fourth gradient, which is 4 colors. First of all, putting those colors and then moving those colors into certain positions so that it does look pretty good. You can see that his gradient is slightly different because he has a white in his gradient, and yeah, I mean, you can certainly do that. It looks expensive, it looks great, but I was trying to go for IG from the very beginning. Now, this is going to be our notification center. So we're going to create one, and then we're going to create another one, make it a little bit smaller, a little bit less transparent, put it on the background so that it actually looks like it's a notification on an iPhone. Now, I'm going to add some text and work with different formatting. In After Effects, you
actually you cannot use emojis. So in order to use emojis, you have to use an image of an emoji. And to do that, there's this website called Emoji to Image Converter. So jpegoptimizer.com. And I also need to create an outline, like a stroke for the left rectangle. Now, I would say it's always better to turn things 3D first and then do the animation, because once you do an animation, then you turn layers into 3D, they actually change their position a little bit based on the camera, because you move the camera. If you don't move the camera, yeah, they can definitely work, but if you do move the camera, then it's going to be a bit of a headache. Now, I'm also going to animate the popping up of the layers using the animation composer. So what I'm doing is I'm doing the blur and also making it a little bit faster, so I had to move it a little bit to the left. And every single one of those, you can actually do it in bulk. I believe if you select a number of those and then you go into animation composer, into edit, you can move in bulk, but I did by hand. I tried to experiment with different animations that a animation composer had. And now everything to the left is going to get animated as well, and it's going to be colored as pink. So we do have this Gaussian blur popping up effect, but we also need to actually animate every single one of those in terms of the position. Every icon and every text on the video that we're trying to recreate has a little bit of movement, like a very basic movement, just a little bit up. And you will also notice that these kind of expensive, very cool 3D animations, it's basically things moving onto the screen with at the same time as the opacity appears, and that's why it looks seamless. Okay, so I'm trying to animate the position of many layers at the same time, which is a bit of a headache. We just have to go through that. Now you'll see that things are moving onto the screen, and then I went ahead and just tried to animate every single one of those separately. So I'm doing like a basic animation for all of those, and then customizing animations for every single layer. So for example, we have the lower icons moving from below, icon moving from the top, text moving from the side, and things like that. And then I'm also slightly changing the timing of when each thing appears so that it looks even better. Now we have to do the same, exactly the same thing with the left rectangle, animating the text and making sure things appear one by one, not like everything at the same time. And this is the way they actually do it, and this is the way it looks so expensive. And by the way, I also decided to create the typewriter effect animation for the text that's going to appear on the left.
This is just one lesson from my full Skillshare class on premium viral motion graphics and After Effects, where I go deeper into creating scroll-stopping 3D UI-inspired animations for TikTok, Reels, and YouTube Shorts. If you want to keep learning from me, there is a free 30-day trial to Skillshare linked below. No prepayment, just full access. Click the link, start learning, and I'll see you inside the full class.